The sun, a cold and disinterested entity, slumped over the humble town of Jerome, Idaho, painting a lackadaisical picture of rural life. The usual suspects of small-town charm dotted the landscape: red brick buildings, white picket fences, and the occasional weather vane creaking in the gentle breeze. At the heart of this postcard view, the Jerome Historical Society Museum squatted like an ancient toad, its time-worn facade whispering tales of bygone years. In front of the museum, detached from the unhurried rhythm of the town, stood Detective Jack Dalton, a man molded by the relentless march of time. His eyes, cerulean windows to a soul tempered by life's violent storms, examined the museum with a stoic interest. The reflection of the aged structure danced in his gaze, an eerie ballet juxtaposed against the scars that marked his weather-beaten face, relics from a battle with nature's wrath itself, a devastating flood. Yet those scars, harrowing as they were, bore testimony to his resilience, his unwavering optimism, his stubborn insistence that the sun would always rise, no matter how harsh the night. A rustle of papers brought Jack's attention back to the present. He looked down at the manila envelope in his hands, its contents as mysterious as the case he found himself entangled in. He was no stranger to enigmas, but this case, this discovery of an unknown life form, was unlike any he had encountered. It was not justice or curiosity that led him here, but the allure of an impressive paycheck, a means to secure a future less bleak than his past. "Detective Dalton, welcome to Jerome." The voice was jarring, breaking the silence that hung in the air. John Kitteridge, the museum's curator, a wiry man with a nervous energy, approached with a hand extended in greeting. "Mr. Kitteridge," Jack acknowledged, his voice the quiet rumble of distant thunder. "Please, call me John. Shall we?" John motioned towards the museum's entrance, a relic arched door that creaked on its hinges as if protesting any intrusion. Jack followed, each step echoing off the cobblestone path, a symphony of impending dread that resonated within the core of his being. As Jack stepped into the dimly lit museum, his eyes darted around, drinking in the dusty exhibits, the musty scent of decaying wood, the eerie silence that seemed to hold its breath. His gaze landed on an out-of-place artifact nestled amongst the earthly relics, a strange object that seemed to pulsate with an alien rhythm. His eyes narrowed, the first threads of intrigue weaving a complex pattern in his mind. "The journey begins, Detective Dalton," John declared, a quiver of excitement running through his words. The echoes of their conversation rebounded off the cold stone walls of the museum, etching their presence into the time-worn edifice. As the hours bled into twilight, the day's conversations and discoveries seeped into his psyche, unsettling him, yet fueling his determination. The day had left him with more questions than answers. The objects he had encountered, the tales spun by John, all hinted at the impossible, the inexplicable, the alien. As he left the museum for the evening, the impending Idaho night seemed to hold a sense of foreboding, its whispers carrying the echoes of cosmic dread. There, beneath the indifferent stars, Jack Dalton, a man rooted in reality, stood at the precipice of the unfathomable, unwittingly ushered towards the abyss by the unseen echoes of Jerome. The following day dawned, indifferent to the peculiarities unfolding in the seemingly ordinary town of Jerome. Jack, armed with an insatiable curiosity and a strong black coffee, found himself standing once more before the museum, its facade bathed in the morning light. The building had adopted a new personality, one that seemed to pulsate with a sinister energy beneath its innocent veneer. "Detective," greeted John, his face pale as if the worries of the world lay heavy on his shoulders. His fingers twitched nervously, as if in sync with the clandestine rhythm that echoed in the museum's stone-cold chambers. "John," Jack replied. His gaze, as penetrating as a hawk's, traced over the curator. The man had aged overnight, his face etched with lines of concern that yesterday held no trace of. A profound stillness clung to the air of the museum, as if time itself was holding its breath, anticipating the uncanny revelations that lay in wait. In this haunted silence, Jack traced his way to the display holding the object he'd observed the day before. Its strange resonance seemed more potent now, almost beckoning him towards a hidden realm. "John," Jack's voice cut through the quietude, "what exactly are we dealing with here?" John hesitated, his eyes flicking nervously to the peculiar artifact. I don't know, Jack. It's like nothing we've ever seen. Its origins, its nature, it defies explanation." It was then that Jack noticed the faint, otherworldly hum that the artifact seemed to emit, a spectral song that reverberated within the marrow of his bones. The whispers of the abyss had begun their haunting serenade. The hours seeped away, replaced by the pall of an unsettling dusk. Jack and John conversed in hushed tones, their words tiptoeing around the museum's disconcerting resonance. They pored over age-old manuscripts, books filled with illegible scripts and cosmic horror tales, looking for any clue that could shed light on the alien relic. As the moon rose, casting long dancing shadows against the museum's interior, Jack found himself standing before the artifact once more. His reflection in the glass was a distorted echo of the man he once was, the face of a man inching closer to the brink of the unfathomable. He placed his hand on the cool surface of the display, and for a moment it felt as though the artifact responded, its hum intensifying, vibrating through his being, a call from the abyss itself. As he bid goodnight to John and exited the museum, his mind spun in a vortex of confusion and intrigue. Beneath the indifferent cosmos, he felt an unfamiliar chill crawl up his spine. As the sun peeked over the horizon, casting a tangerine hue over Jerome, Jack woke from a restless slumber, the echoes of his dreams tainted with a foreign dread. His reflection in the mirror bore the burdens of a man wrestling with the unknown, his cerulean eyes reflecting a tempest of cosmic confusion. With a sigh that echoed the heaviness in his heart, he dressed in his usual attire and headed towards the museum, drawn by a force he could no longer deny. As he approached, the building seemed to pulsate with an unseen energy, as if bracing itself for the revelations about to unfurl within its antique walls. Once inside, he was greeted by a haggard John. His usually enthusiastic demeanor was shrouded by an anxious tension. The man seemed to have shrunk overnight, his shoulders hunched as if bearing the weight of the unseen worlds echoing within the museum. Together they descended deeper into the labyrinth that the museum had become. The air was heavy with a sense of unseen currents, like threads from an alien tapestry being woven around them. With each step, the boundary between the familiar and the alien wavered, reality becoming a fluid concept. As they explored further, a series of incongruous objects caught Jack's attention. They were not artifacts in the traditional sense, but appeared more like instruments from another world. They seemed to pulsate with the same frequency as the original artifact, like a choir singing in a language lost to time and space. "Jack!" John's voice trembled, his gaze riveted on one such object. It was the size of a bread loaf, its surface gleaming like polished obsidian, yet rippling as if it were liquid. Jack felt a strange connection to the object, an inexplicable resonance that spoke to the very fabric of his being. Their dialogue shifted, no longer an exchange of earthly observations, but an attempt to decode the alien narrative unfolding before them. Their voices echoed off the museum's cold stone walls, an eerie testament to their descent into a realm of cosmic horrors. As the hours ebbed away, the museum underwent a transformation. The walls, once stoic, began whispering in forgotten tongues. The labyrinth twisted and turned, the boundaries between dimensions seemingly blurred. Jack felt as though he was not merely in a museum, but adrift in a sea of cosmic horror, navigating through alien realities. The twilight found them in the heart of the museum, the labyrinth at its most potent. Despite his bravado, Jack felt a chill creep into his soul, a creeping realization that he was not merely investigating a case, but teetering on the brink of a terrifying abyss. In the face of this unsettling revelation, he made a decision. He would face the shifting labyrinth, confront the cosmic horrors that lurked in the corners of his sanity. As he left the museum that night, he cast a final glance at the building. Beneath the indifferent stars, it stood as a portal to alien worlds, a cosmic beacon in the quiet town of Jerome. The new day dawned with an ominous weight, the usually vibrant Idaho skies swathed in a melancholy gray. Jack rose from another fitful night of sleep, his dreams tainted by twisted realities and nebulous horrors. As he dressed, his reflection stared back at him, the once steadfast detective now a man teetering on the precipice of the unknowable. Arriving at the museum, he was greeted by the sight of John, a ghost of his former self. Shadows danced beneath his eyes, the toll of their journey etched into his features. With a resigned nod, the two men entered the shifting labyrinth, the hum of the alien artifacts growing louder, the whispers of the abyss swelling into a cacophonous symphony. The labyrinth had grown more potent overnight, the museum's reality now a twisted echo of the familiar. The objects thrummed with an otherworldly resonance, their pulsations tearing at the seams of his sanity. Each step deeper into the museum felt like a plunge into an icy abyss, the bone-chilling terror gnawing at his resolve. The air within the museum was heavy, the scent of age-old stone now tainted with an alien sharpness. The walls seemed to breathe, whispering tales of unseen horrors and incomprehensible realities. The boundary between the earthly and the cosmic was no longer merely blurred. It was erased, and in its place stood an intricate web of alien dimensions. Detective Dalton! John's voice was a shaky whisper, his gaze frozen on one of the objects. The object pulsed brighter, its cosmic rhythm quickening. An intense dread flooded Jack, his instincts screaming at him to flee, to escape from the horrifying spectacle unfolding before his eyes. Shaking off the creeping fear, he grabbed John's arm, his voice a raspy command amidst the alien din. "We need to get out, now!" His heart pounded in his chest, the monstrous reality of their situation unfolding in terrifying clarity. They were not merely in a museum, they were standing in a cosmic nexus caught in the snare of an eldritch horror. Their escape was a desperate blur, the labyrinth twisting and distorting around them. The once familiar corridors twisted into alien passages, the whispers growing into deafening roars. Time and space seemed to warp and stretch, reality fluctuating like a wild sea. Yet amidst the chaos, Jack's resolve hardened. He held onto John, navigating through the reality-bending maze, his bravery a beacon in the horrifying tempest. Their desperate scramble came to a halt as they burst through the entrance. The mundane morning light of Jerome, a stark contrast to the otherworldly chaos within the museum. Gasping for air, Jack cast a final glance at the museum. It stood, an unassuming building in the heart of Jerome, its secrets tucked away behind a veil of normalcy. But his escape was not a complete one. He may have fled the physical labyrinth, but his mind was forever imprinted with the cosmic horrors he'd encountered. The memory of the shifting labyrinth lingered, haunting his dreams and tainting his waking moments. The once sturdy detective had come face to face with the unfathomable and emerged scarred yet alive. His reality was forever altered, his perspective irrevocably expanded by the alien dimensions he'd glimpsed. Beneath the indifferent skies of Idaho, Jack Dalton stood, a survivor of not just an earthly catastrophe, but also a cosmic odyssey. His was a tale echoed in the silent corridors of the Jerome Historical Society Museum, a story whispered from the abyss, a testament to the unseen echoes of cosmos. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed our content, show your support with a like and subscribe, and stay notified by hitting the bell icon. Expect more cosmic horror from Eldritch Tales Factory, and feel free to explore our other stories. See you in the next video.